Okay, so this should be the beginning of our texture sketchbook study learning segment. So today we're going to talk all about texture, mostly leaning towards visual texture, and then we'll talk about a little bit about physical texture as well. Now, as you guys have learned with your unintentional mark, I really want you to balance freedom and responsibility with certain mediums and tools. I want you guys to really reflect on your work with the questions that I ask you. Don't forget to incorporate those questions into your layout. I have them posted in Google Classroom too. So yeah, don't forget about those. And then, constructing like your own evaluation of what you did. So again, back with those questions and reflecting. So my goal for this and overall is for you guys to think about how you can add texture without having to just go straight forward and drawing it or painting it, but implementing other things as well. So maybe more like alternative methods or non-traditional methods to create texture. I know that we talk about texture a little bit in Art 1, but I want you guys to start exploring how you could use, I'm pretty much just restating what I said, but again, how you could use elements outside of using a pencil to create texture. So for instance here, we have a form of printmaking where they have used a piece of wood and either coated it in ink or paint and created a print here. This looks like this was done with like one of those like Nerf balls, and they just dipped it in paint and they created all this like beautiful visual texture. And then this is more of a physical texture because it would be raised from the surface, but they are using almost like an icing piping bag to create a thick layer of texture, and that's actually called impasto, and you'll see that in the next slide or two. So I'm going to move over to Instagram, and I'm going to show you this video where this person's using like all these different tools to put down texture on their paper, and then they go on top of it and paint with paint pens and other things too to create this beautiful image. So let me click on that. I don't know if my audio is going to work while it's on, but let's see. So we have a squeegee here, the dry brush method, not much paint on there. There's that paint marker. Looks like a piece of plexiglass. And then here they go in and start painting and come out with this beautiful image. Look at this. I'm just going to let this play again. So we have bubble wrap. This is a marver. Again with that squeegee, dry brush. And I just want to point out they're kind of going all over the place with texture. Now more in like it is kind of like in a radial pattern to kind of create a sense of balance and unity there. But you can kind of go everywhere, but I do want you to implement some type of, what's the word I'm looking for, like recognizable object or scene within it. Yes, so don't just go all crazy with some texture and then do nothing with it. Add something to it. Okay, let me go back to my slides here. I think I have more videos. I think this next one's on there. Yep. Just gonna go ahead and go to that one. And then same thing, using that squeegee method, you guys, I will have little pieces of cardboard or cardstock for you guys to do this with. Again, oh, we also have paint markers too. Those should be on the back counter for you. And then same thing, they're just going in and painting on top of it. So you guys will have acrylic paint. They're using ink here, which you could thin out your paint with water if you want something more liquidy. And then they're going in with glitter. Not the biggest fan of glitter, but that looks pretty cool. Okay, let's see. So within the next slide, I'm really just showing you more visual texture within artworks. These kind of look a little girly, but there's so much visual texture here all over the place. And then on top of it, they have this figure. Same thing over here. And then this artist used stuffed animals to create prints, so kind of like that wood block print, where they are able to get the texture of the bear by using the bear. So instead of going in with paint and trying to paint like every piece of fur, they are using the fur to paint. So I want you guys to kind of get in that mindset. Hopefully you guys brought something in today. I try to leave a reminder for you guys to bring something in or remind you yesterday. So hopefully you were reminded and brought something in that could be different than what I'll have for you guys today. I also wanted to point out, I had a painting instructor and he did this with a lot of his pieces. He was, or still is, a great portrait painter, but I always loved that he incorporated a lot of textures within his pieces. And I remember asking him on this one, I believe, like, how did he get this little grid method? Or not method, but texture or whatever. And he said he used an oven mitt, like a silicone oven mitt, and just pretty much stamped it onto his surface. And he's an oil painter, so these are all oils. But anyway, he was really great about using just household items or things you wouldn't typically find or think to use, and incorporate them in his pieces. And I just think it creates a whole nother added element. And then here we go into physical texture. Now, physical texture is actual like raised texture that you could feel physically, and a lot of this is called impasto that I'm showing you here, which is just thick applications of paint. And then here it looks like they're using like baking soda or salt or sand or something to create more of a gritty texture with paint. And then here are just some examples of impasto. So that's more physical texture, like I said. But anyway, so that is texture. And then don't forget you have texture questions that you will answer in your layout. I think that's all my slides, yes. Okay, so let me jump over here. I'm going to try to make this big for you. Yep. And that's as large as I can make it. All right, we'll just roll with that. Oh, there we go. So in y'all's little Ziploc that I plan to prepare for you guys, you will have a couple different options for texture. Some options that I've already pulled aside for you guys are these little like dish scrubbers. I like these because they do just have so much texture, and you could use them to apply paint to and kind of like stick and press all over your paper. This is those cabinet covers like that you sit on your cabinet floor to protect like your glassware in your cabinets from getting all scratched up. So you could use this and apply paint on top and use it as kind of like a stencil. So I have something like this. I have these little old ornaments that we used way back when, and you could try to create some wood prints. I would recommend using thin applications of paint on here. Try not to get that paint caked up on here because it will take away from that wooden texture. Like on this side, I'm not sure if that texture would show, but on this side I could tell that it would because it's very thin. You guys will have brayers, and I want you to notice how this is clean. So make sure you wash this with soap and water. Afterwards, I'm going to be pretty upset if I come back and these are dirty. So wash them with soap and water. Yeah, but you're more than welcome to put paint on them, and so forth. And of course, we have some bubble wrap. This is normally everyone's favorite. But yeah, you can use the same method as you would with these guys, just apply paint to it. Again, thin applications of paint would probably be best. And then you can use it to stamp and create some more visual texture. I'm going to really quick show you an example here. I think I have two examples. So this is Kelly's, and she did a good job playing around with textures. Like this was her whole testing page, where she did a lot of different tests and ended up asking for a very large sheet of paper. But you can see where she's just playing around with like the bubble wrap, and you can tell that this is right here, that this is just using this. But yeah, this is beautiful. I love all the created texture here. This is what I'm looking for. For your questions, try to make them more readable. So I would probably think about adding a piece of paper on top because it was pretty hard to read hers, but that's my only critique there. But beautiful, beautiful texture. This was her testing and practicing. And then she started to incorporate it into her final. And it's a little messy, but I kind of enjoy that just because she's still exploring different textures. Again, using that bubble wrap there. I'm not sure what she's using here, but it looks good as well. Okay, so that's Kelly's. And I just love how colorful this spread is. Remember to have a tester and a final. And with this method in general, or this method overall, if you want your tester piece to be really big, that is perfectly fine, because I do want you guys to explore a lot with these. Okay, so that's that one. And then this is Kamora's, and she did visual and physical texture because she ended up bringing in some salt and incorporating it into her piece here. So she has a lot of physical texture here because I could feel all of this. And she did the ocean there, like you're walking up on shore. And then she did some visual texture as well. I'm not really sure which one's her tester and which one was her final. I'm sure it says somewhere in here. But both great at showing texture. Yeah, I want you guys to be a little bit more intentional with your background and layout, but overall they did great. All right, so that is the end of our texture slides and examples. I am very excited to see what you guys come up with. So you guys go have some fun, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.